What's up, Sam? So here's the real quick tutorial on the West Montgomery chord scale, as well as the, like, I think from what our last discussion on email, you wanted me to show an example of the half-step approach to comping, and how George Benson, basically how his rhythm playing on the cookbook. But in regards to Benson's playing, he was a big Wes Montgomery fan. As I'd probably venture to say that Wes was like one of George's biggest influences. So let me move this down so you can see my guitar. But so I'll show you just comping like a regular blues. What I was meaning by the half step. So for instance, let's take just a regular G. We're going to take a G blues. So the other thing I would mention to you is to learn all your inversions of your dominant chords, so that when you comp, you have more chords to choose from in your comping. So if we just comping a G blues, it's like 1, 2, 1, right here I'm moving off of it. So 1, see right here, you can take just a regular, you can go as simple as just playing a regular G7 when you're comping. George on the cookbook record, as well as other things, he moves around a lot when he comps, just to add more, not just rhythmic variety, but also more, harmonic variety. So he'll move off a half step. Wes would do it as well. Just to give more variety, and just so that the soloist, whoever is soloing over it, will have more to choose from as far as harmony wise. So say for instance, like I said, we're in a G blues, you can play a 13, tritone, all of that movement. It's all more so about, it's just about, just at the end of the day, having more to choose from. Just almost like, imagine an arsenal or an armory. If you only got one gun in your armory, then you're gonna run out of bullets, as well as ammunition, and you're gonna get beat in the long run. You know what I'm saying? So I think of it like that. It's just like having more tools in your toolbox to choose from, so that you can build your house or complete whatever project you're working on. So like I was saying, the thing that I would do is learn different inversions, so that you'll have more to choose from. And then as piano players do it all the time. If you really check out a lot of piano players, and I always liken the guitar is like a horn and a piano. You can play chords like a piano player, and you can play single lines like a horn player, especially in jazz. So what I do is I try to listen to a lot of piano players and just grab some of their voicings, so that when I'm comping behind a soloist or a vocalist, they'll have something interesting to listen to. So the first thing I would do, like in your practice time, is go through, just take a blues. A lot of people don't spend a lot of time with the blues, because the jazz blues is not as popular as it used to be, but it's so important to learn the blues, because the blues is jazz. You know, jazz comes from the blues pretty much. So what I would do is just play, you know, different chords in G7, or you can take it in B flat 7. You know, all these chords are movable chords, you know, because they're closed, or what they call block chords for the most part. That's why Wes was the master of it, because he could move, you know, you can move all these chords around. So see, I'm just moving the same chord around. That's Freddie Freeloader. But if you listen to a lot of bluesers, they're moving the chords around. It's just in half steps or whole steps, just to add variety. So that's the first thing I would do. Just when you know, get time, you're in your practice time, just take your regular dominant chords, and like I said, you know, go through your inversions, just so you can see and get used to hearing how they sound. So that way when you're playing, you can immediately jump to it. If you want to hear that 13 sound, you know how it sounds before you even play it. 13 right here. Now, really quick, and I hope that kind of explains what I mean by playing off the half step. So if it's a B, once again, really just to kind of sum it up, if we're in G and we're comping the G blues, instead of playing see, I can't even I can't even just play straight because it sounds so corny playing. I mean, back in, I guess, like the early days, it's kind of how they used to comp. But even still, you know, the guys who were hip would move it around. So I'm just moving. Then when you really get into it, you can make the simplest progression more hip if you just move it around. So you got. You know, something like that. That was real basic, but I don't know if you caught it, but I threw pieces of the Wes Montgomery chord scale, as I call it, in there off of the minors. When you go to the 2/5 that goes back to G7, for instance, in the turnaround of the blues, you go. Now, one thing that I've kind of investigated a lot of books, and there's very few books that go into detail about this chord scale, this Wes Montgomery chord scale. It's amazing to me that more guitar books, at least there may be some out there, but I stopped buying books because I found that it's better to just get it off the record and just kind of like learn it that way, because you retain more when you discover it yourself than when you like just are reading through books. So what I did was you know, pretty much analyze how Wes was using this thing, and it's what I call the Wes Montgomery chord scale. And pretty much he bases a lot of stuff off, like, say for instance, the minor. and uses the diminished in between. So you got, for this instance, you got A minor, A, diminish, A minor, diminish. Because as you know, sorry about that, I was distracted. As you know, the diminished chords move in minor thirds. So you got, and so on and so on. So if you might even want to just play around with that to make sure that you got that down. You can move that off half steps too. That's when you really start getting into like the advanced comping. George would do that as well. Instead of just playing straight. After a while, that'll get kind of boring. But if you add the slide in there, it's like, okay, where is this going? And then you're back to. So getting back to what we were talking about initially, and I'll kind of wrap this up in a second, but playing off the minor chords. So in this instance, you got a blues. See right here on the C7, you can move that off and diminish as well. But that's a whole another thing. You may already know that. But the dominants are basically, they're what I call a part of the diminished family, if you will, because you can play E diminished over C7 because that's really just an alteration of the C dominant chord. So it's really like a C7 flat 9, if you will. See? So, but anyway, to get back to the West Montgomery chord scale, you got A minor, diminish, minor, diminish, minor, diminish, minor, diminish, minor. And you can go backwards. I would encourage you, and I mean this goes for anybody. It's so many different things that you can do with that particular scale. Like, of course, Wes shows you how you can have a whole chord solo. Piano players would do it as well. That his brother was a piano player, Buddy. So I'm sure he probably got it from his brother. I'm almost positive to say he got it from his brother, because in watching the documentaries, Wes's wife, his ex-wife, talked about how the family was musical, and they would stay up all night practicing and stuff. So I'm sure his brother was a consummate pianist as well as a vibraphonist, so I'm sure he got it from him. But what he did with it was pretty extraordinary. But I would take that through all 12 keys. So you can start here on G minor and just move it up. It's really kind of pretty to listen to. So I would take that through all 12 keys, and then when you're comping, as you grow and get familiar with that particular chord scale, you can throw it in your comping to add even more harmonic variety. So like I was doing before in a G blues, that's a tritone.